Chapter 252, Commandery Princess Zhenling. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. A tall, lean elder wearing a grey gown walked through the blizzard. He had an aquiline nose, deep eyes and long grey hair parted down the middle that flowed down to the ground. Strong wind power flowed around him, giving off a swishing sound that split the air. A closer look quickly revealed that there was nothing under the grey-gowned elder's robe. The elder had no legs. Wind power alone kept him floating 3 feet off the ground. His control over wind power had reached a superb and perfect realm. Hanku crawled out of the sunken pit and breathed heavily. There were more than 10 bloody wounds on her body, but luckily they were all non-fatal flesh wounds. Swish! The ancient white jade sword fell from 30 meters in the air and returned to her hand. Hanku gripped her sword and stood, a murderous look in her eyes. "Master Huo," she said in a deep voice, "are you going to kill me?" The grey-gowned elder was called Huo Jingqing. He was the presbyter of Yantai suzerain as well as the royal family member of the Square Commandery. His cultivation had reached the initial stage of the heaven realm. Back when Huo Jingqing was in the earth realm, he was a twofold genius whose fighting capabilities spanned 2 realms. After his breakthrough into the heaven realm, a group of people had broken his legs. This incident cut off the meridians of his lower body, which restricted his blood flow and reduced his power. Despite this, his present fighting abilities still allowed him to surpass the limits of his realms. Huo Jingqing smiled mercilessly. "For the safety of the Square Commandery, you and Zhang Yuochen must die." "I'm sorry about this, Huo, but I have no choice." "Zhang Yuochen? Who is he?" Hanku asked, giving him a perplexed look. Huo Jingqing sneered. "Don't play the fool," he said. "If you don't hand over that account book right now, I'll make you wish you could die." "I'm curious," Hanku said. "Why did you decide to secretly collaborate with the black market, even though the Yantai suzerain treated the Square Commandery with kindness and generosity?" Huo Jingqing sneered. "Treating us kindly and generously? The Yantai suzerain extorts more than half of its resources, money and labor force from the western 9 prefectures. We send a great number of practice resources and silver coins to Yantai suzerain, and what has the Square Commandery got to show for it? At least, our cooperation with the black market benefits us a lot since we trade as equals." Hanku was annoyed by his words. "How could you have cultivated to the heaven realm and become a superbly strong martial artist without the help of the Yantai suzerain?" she asked. "If the Yantai suzerain hadn't helped defend you against the savage beasts in Oman Ridge, I fear those beasts would have ruined the whole Square Commandery. Your civilization would have been destroyed and reduced to another barren wilderness." "Cut the CRP, who has the account book?" Huo Jingqing asked. "Whoever has it, you won't be able to take it from them," Hanku replied. Swish! A fierce gust of wind blew as Huo Jingqing moved as quickly as the speed of sound. His flight stirred vibrations in the surrounding spiritual chi of the universe. Hanku saw Huo Jingqing, who stood more than 10 meters away, blur across that distance and appear before her in a single moment. He reached out with 2 hands clenched into claws, seeking to seize Hanku by her throat. Reverse the universe. The genuine chi inside Hanku's body poured out like a flood. Her skin took on the hue of divine, translucent jade, shining with light that glared like the burning sun. Suddenly, she leapt over Huo Jingqing's head with a swishing sound and struck towards his head. Hands seizing only empty air, Huo Jingqing looked up towards the sky the moment he felt the fluctuation of genuine chi. He raised a clenched fist towards the sky and roared, mountain-crashing tiger fist. Boom! The ground cracked beneath Huo Jingqing's feet as the strong power of his palm blasted him back down. His genuine chi spread in all directions. Huo Jingqing grinned hideously. "Is that the holy universe-reaching skill? Such a pity you lack the experience to use it." Bam! Huo Jingqing's body shrank and sank directly into the ground, leaving a deep hole in the earth. Hanku withdrew her palm and fell back to the ground, staring down at the hole. Suddenly, fluctuations of genuine chi appeared behind her. Her expression changed. Before she could turn, she felt the strong power of a fist rushing towards her back. Huo Jingqing sprang up from the ground behind her and struck Hanku's back. In that moment, Han Ku infused the jade bead on her wrist with genuine chi. The inscription emerged from the jade bead and condensed into a 2-meter-long light shield behind her back. Ripples spread along the light shield in circles as Huo Jingqing struck it with a loud boom. The light shield impeded the power of his fist. As a result, Han Ku was flung forwards without suffering any injury. Body protecting jade bead. Huo Jingqing sneered, "How many of my fists can you withstand, I wonder?" Huo Jingqing rushed in again, wind blades gathering around his fists as he punched. Han Ku was very anxious. She could not compete against Huo Jingqing with her present cultivation. Though she had reached the 3.5 realm, there was a 3-realm gap between the completion of the Earth realm and the initial stage of the Heaven realm. Generally she could compete against warriors from the initial stage of the Heaven realm, but she definitively didn't stand a chance against strong ones like Huo Jingqing. Han Ku defended herself against Huo Jingqing's attacks while looking towards where Zhang Yuochen was. She realized that Zhang Yuochen had vanished from the spot where he fell. Could it be that he has escaped? Han Ku felt completely helpless and annoyed. Thought they were unfamiliar with each other. She had helped him once with the black market. Did this guy abandon her to escape on his own? How unexpectedly selfish. What am I supposed to do now? My body protecting jade bead can only shield me against 3 attacks. Just 2 shields remain. Considering the power of Huo Jingqing, I cannot fight back against him or seize the opportunity to escape even with my Supreme Universe and Dark Domain techniques. Bang! After exchanging 7 blows with Huo Jingqing, Han Ku was forced to use her body-protecting jade bead again. Knowing that Zhang Yuochen has escaped, Han Ku immediately used a movement technique to dart off into the distance at top speed. Huo Jingqing, who could move as fast as sound, caught up with her and sneered, "Kua, I might consider letting you go if you give me the account book and the secrets of the Supreme Universe." "You must be dreaming." Han Ku thought for a moment before speaking. "You're completely focused on chasing me," she said. "Aren't you worried that the account book might be with another person?" "Hey!" Huo Jingqing laughed. "Do you think that I was the only one sent to kill you too? It is impossible for Zhang Yuochen to escape." Han Ku was surprised. "He keeps mentioning the name Zhang Yuochen," she thought to herself. Could it be that the mysterious teenager is not called Chen Yuo but is actually Zhang Yuochen, the 9th Prince of Yunwu Commandery? Or could they be one and the same? Before Han Ku could think more on this, Huo Jingqing launched another attack. Han Ku had no choice but to activate her Dark Domain technique to defend herself against Huo Jingqing's attacks. The physical quality of the dark nature had always been a secret all her own. Now, though, self-preservation was much more important than keeping the secret. Elsewhere, Zhang Yuochen was knocked into the air by the wind blade unleashed by Huo Jingqing. In the wake of this attack, his ice fire Kylin armor had grown ragged and his 6th level genuine martial arms armor had been destroyed. The wind blade had left small wounds on Zhang Yuochen's body. As he readied himself to get back up in order to cooperate with Han Ku and defeat Huo Jingqing, metal claws suddenly burst from the ground and seized his arms. What the hell? Suddenly, a strong power attracted the metal claws, hauling Zhang Yuochen more than 10 meters beneath the earth. Zhang Yuochen was lost in the dark. His face was covered with soil and stones. His eyes saw nothing. He felt like the metal claws were hauling him into an abyss. The Abyss Ancient Sword. The Abyss Ancient Sword immediately flew out to cut the metal claws. As soon as the Abyss Ancient Sword moved, the metal claws holding Zhang Yuochen's arms disappeared. When Zhang Yuochen got free, he kicked at the ground and attempted to rush back up to the surface. In that moment, a strong surge of power rushed from the surface towards Zhang Yuochen, seemingly intended to shatter his head. Zhang Yuochen defended himself by counter-attacking with a blast of palm power. Bang! Due to the impact of the power, Zhang Yuochen was blasted down and buried deeper. From underground, Zhang Yuochen heard the voice of a woman above him. "If you don't hand over that account book, you will be buried underground forever, little boy." Another martial arts master. Zhang Yuochen's present martial cultivation would keep him from being asphyxiated even if he stayed underground for a whole day. "I'm afraid you're not strong enough to bury me alive." From more than 10 meters underground, Zhang Yuochen released his space domain to expand the space around him. The space around him gradually expanded. After a while, his space domain broke through the ground with a loud noise. Still cocooned within the space domain, Zhang Yuochen flew into the sky and then landed back on the ground. An ugly woman in her 50s stood far away from him, a woman with a stocky body, dark skin and legs stouter than a bucket. She brandished two metal chains linked to the ends of metal claws. These were the metal claws that had previously dragged Zhang Yuochen more than 10 meters below the surface. The ugly woman was completely to perceive the space domain and was thus surprised. "What martial technique did you use?" she asked. "A martial technique you will never learn." Zhang Yuochen continued. "Are you a warrior from the Square Commandery?" "I am the Commandery Princess Zhenling from Square Commandery," the ugly woman who was as stocky as the buffalo proudly proclaimed. "It's incredible to know that a Commandery princess can look as ugly as you," Zhang Yuochen sardonically said. Provoked by Zhang Yuochen's words, Commandery Princess Zhenling instantly became annoyed. She suddenly waved her stout arms and sent the metal claws hurtling towards Zhang Yuochen. Frankly, the martial cultivation of the Commandery Princess Zhenling was far beyond the initial stage of the Heaven Realm in terms of power. The two metal claws attacked Zhang Yuochen without pause. In a unique display of martial arts, 36 claws manifested and tried to wrap themselves all the way around him. But the sword techniques performed by Zhang Yuochen had reached quite a high level. They firmly protected him from the attacks of the two metal claws. Commandery Princess Zhenling seemed to recognize Zhang Yuochen's mature sword technique. Even she couldn't defeat him in a contest of nimble martial techniques. Therefore, she changed her strategy to launching brutal attacks, hoping to wear down Zhang Yuochen with raw power. Then Commandery Princess Zhenling withdrew her metal claws and pounded them against her chest, creating the sound of clashing metal. "King Kong Savage Beast's body," she shouted.